The shocking truth: how Cain married when only Adam, Eve, and their sons existed. The very idea ripples through time like a seismic wave, shaking our understanding of the world as if it were built on a foundation of sand. How could Cain, the firstborn son of Adam and Eve, find a wife when the universe consisted only of himself, his brother Abel, and their unsuspecting parents? The answer is buried deep in a swirling vortex of misleading tales and hidden truths, waiting for us to unravel it. The sun hung low in the sky, casting eerie shadows over the dusty paths of Eden. Every rustle of leaves sent shivers down spines, as if the garden itself held secrets too dangerous to reveal. Rumors whispered through the air like ghostly tendrils, claiming there were other worlds, other beings, elusive figures lying beyond the horizon. No one truly believed it, but what if? The tension thickened, hanging heavily like the air before a storm. Some spoke of strange sounds at night, flickering lights just out of reach, and the feeling of being watched. Eyes skimming the distant hills felt a slight tingle, a quiver of anticipation, the kind that makes your heart race and breath hitch in your throat. Silence engulfed the tranquil setting, pierced only by the sudden cracking of a branch. It could have been a deer or something eerier, lurking and breathing life into ancient fears. For the villagers, the notion that God could create another being from nothing, someone for Cain to love, was absurd yet thrilling. Would it be like breathing new life into clay? The concept turned their simple lives upside down, igniting a fire of desire to unearth every scrap of existence that could link to Cain's fateful choice. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. As the night deepened, firelight flickered against tense faces, illuminating every puzzled expression that danced with uncertainty. What fate awaited Cain? Would he seek these enigmatic figures lurking in the shadows, or would he forever wander the earth as a restless soul, yearning for answers? A low murmur swept through the crowd, a mix of excitement and dread as eyes turned towards the horizon. Did the first man act alone? Or was there more waiting to be uncovered, hidden in the depths of night, just beyond their reach? The questions loomed larger and darker, compelling souls to keep searching for the horrifying truth behind Cain's mysterious wife. The air crackled with anticipation, a palpable energy that gripped the villagers. They gathered closely around the fire, its glow casting wild shadows that flickered like restless spirits. A question itched at their throats: could there truly be other beings out there? The thought sent waves of intrigue washing over them, not entirely driven by curiosity. Fear laced their every word. Just then, an elderly man with sunken cheeks and eyes hardened by time rose from the shadows, his voice rising above the crackling flames. I remember stories of old, tales passed down through whispers and cautious glances. His words hung in the air, heavy with authority. In the time before ours, strange sights rolled over the hills at dusk. People spoke of shapes dancing on the borders of this realm, come to find what lay within Eden's embrace. The crowd's unease deepened. Some exchanged fearful glances, while others leaned in closer, eager to hear more. "What did you see, elder?" someone shouted, their voice barely concealing the tremble of fear. The man paused, beads of sweat glistening on his brow. They were beautiful, yet haunting. Creatures unlike any we know. Women whose laughter rang like chimes in the wind. Cursed by our ignorance, or perhaps blessed. A ripple of gasps swooped through the listeners as they processed the implication. Could these women have been Cain's companions? Was their magic intertwined with their existence, strands of fate colliding across time? Suddenly, a howl shattered the night. It echoed through the trees, piercing every chest like a dagger. Panic surged through the crowd. Fearful whispers turned into shouts, and bodies shuffled uneasily as eyes darted to the shadows. What was that? Another voice cried. At that moment, a figure burst from the underbrush, hair matted and dirt-smeared, breathless, and wide-eyed. It was Abel. "They are coming," he gasped, words flowing with urgency. "I don't know what they are, but they're not like us. They're watching." The crackling fire flickered, shadows transforming into monstrous shapes against the backdrop of the swirling uncertainty. Hearts raced as the villagers pressed closer together, feeling the weight of the night close in on them. Whispers of betrayal and fear spread through the group like wildfire. "How can we trust them?" a woman cried, her voice cracking under the weight of her dread. Could there be more than fear in this darkness? Another pondered, half lost in thought, as they reflected on the unfolding mysteries. Abel's intense gaze bore into the crowd. "We can't sit idly, we must find Cain. If these creatures do exist, what if he has already met them?" The elder spoke again, his voice trembling slightly. "If Cain sought out companionship, what price will he pay for it?" And just like that, the entire village transformed into a storm of urgency, purpose igniting within them like kindling. They rallied together, fueled by an unshakable determination to glean the truth from the shadows. With a sense of ominous inevitability lingering in the air, they prepared to set off on a treacherous midnight venture. As they gathered their meager belongings, the haunting howl echoed once more, a chilling reminder that the unknown was inching closer. What awaited them beyond the horizon? Would they uncover the truth of Cain's choice? Or would other forces emerge from the darkness, turning secrets into nightmares? The stakes had never been higher. All they knew was that they had to face whatever lay ahead. The chilling thought hung heavily in the air: could unraveling the mysteries lead them to fortune or doom? As the villagers formed a ragged line, anxiety rippled through them like an electric current. The moon hung heavy in the sky, casting an eerie silver glow on the path ahead. With each hesitant step, they felt the burden of the night pressing down, thick and oppressive. Abel led the way, his breath coming in quick bursts. He cast sideways glances, half expecting shadows to spring to life behind him. "We have to stay close," he warned, his voice a mere whisper yet urgent. "They could be anywhere." The elder walked beside him, his gnarled hands clasped tightly in front of him as if trying to contain the turmoil brewing inside. "Darkness has a way of revealing our deepest fears," he muttered. "And it will not hesitate to exploit them. Keep your heart steady." As they ventured deeper into the woods, the howls morphed into the sound of rustling branches and distant whispers. It was as if the trees themselves were gossiping about what was to come. The villagers shared nervous glances, each sound sent chills racing up their spines. "Is it really true?" One of the men, Thomas, spoke up, his voice trembling slightly. "Could there really be creatures out here more than just us?" His question hung heavy, connecting them through a shared realization: they were stepping into territory far beyond their understanding. Abel halted abruptly, causing the villagers behind him to jostle against one another. "Do you hear that?" His eyes darted toward the dusky horizon, where the darkness seemed deeper, thicker. The others strained to listen, and dread settled on them like a shroud. A soft melody drifted through the branches, sweet and haunting like a lullaby turned dark. It seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once, a beckoning, almost a tease. "We shouldn't tea," a woman named Lila murmured, backing away slightly, fear causing her heart to race. "We could be walking into a trap." Abel took a deep breath, summoning every bit of courage. "If Cain is out there, we need to find him. Whatever those creatures are, they may have answers." The sheer weight of his conviction made them shift uneasily, torn between fear and determination. With newfound resolve, the group moved toward the sound, each step feeling heavier than the last. They were fumbling through complete darkness now, the tree branches clawing at their skin, the air thick with uncertainty. Just as they approached a clearing, the song stopped as abruptly as if cut by a knife. Silence enveloped them like a storm cloud, thick and suffocating. Heartbeats pounded in their ears, drowning out everything else. "What now?" Lila whispered, her voice quaking. The elder raised his hand, signaling for silence, his instincts screaming that danger lingered close. Suddenly, a piercing scream shattered the stillness, sending terror spiraling through the group. What was that? A voice cried out in panic, but before anyone could respond, shadows surged into the clearing, wild and frenzied. Dark figures emerged, swathed in pale light, their faces obscured. A chorus of laughter rang in the air, chilling and intoxicating. They seemed almost ethereal, and for a brief moment, the villagers were entranced, as if pulled into a web spun from fatal allure. "What have we walked into?" Abel breathed, eyes wide with disbelief as the figures swayed closer. The beautiful yet haunting shapes seemed to hover just out of reach, their laughter curling around the villagers like mist, with the veil of doubt hanging heavy and danger lurking in the enchanting shadows. They were left with one burning question echoing in their hearts: would confronting these mystical beings lead to revelations about Cain, or their own destruction? The laughter faded, leaving an eerie stillness that wrapped around the villagers like a tightening vice. The dark figures, still shrouded in flickering light, tilted their heads in unison, as if sizing up their audience. Abel's instincts screamed at him to flee, but his feet were glued to the ground. "What do you want?" he shouted, forcing the words out, trembling despite the defiance. The elder at his side inclined his body slightly forward, poised as if trying to decipher some hidden intent behind the ethereal gasps of laughter. Each ripple of sound clawed at the tension, bruising the quiet space between the past and the present. Time stretched, and the faces of the figures began to resolve into shapes. They were not monstrous, but their beauty felt distorted, their features enchanting yet unsettling. One stepped closer, the glow creating an illusion of softness, a warmth that almost felt inviting. "Ah, so many lost, searching for a brother," the figure sang, voice smooth but echoing with a haunting sorrow. "Cain," the elder whispered, recognizing the name, an old story stirring at the back of his mind. "We aren't here to play games. We seek the truth." His voice was steady, but a tremor ran through his body, betraying the rising fear within. At the mention of Cain, the figures stopped their dance. The air shifted, thickening with newfound purpose, and the faint laughter fell silent like a string cut too soon. Abel took a step back, glancing at the trembling faces around him. He could sense the energy of fear coiling and releasing, like a spring wound far too tight. "Truth?" the figure asked mockingly, tilting its head, allowing a cascade of silky hair to billow in the light. "Truth is a heavy burden. Do you dare carry it?" "We have to, don't we?" Lila muttered, clenching her fists. The resolve in her voice felt feeble against the backdrop of despair surrounding them. "Whatever it takes to find Cain." The laughter returned, wild and fierce, wrapping around them in a cacophony of sound, making their blood run cold. They were transfixed, voices overlapping in a sinister symphony. Just then, another shriek pierced the air, this one human and filled with unmistakable pain. Panic coursed through Abel, igniting a fire in his chest. "Wait!" Abel yelled, trying to cut through the chaos. "What have you done to him?" "Nothing yet." The ethereal figure floated closer still, eyes sparkling with wicked joy. "But the answers you seek come with a price. A sacrifice, perhaps." Before he could respond, shadows burst from the edges of the clearing, rushing forward. The villagers stumbled backward, breaths hitching as they felt the air electrify with danger. Figures leaped from the darkness, pulling Abel's mind into a frenzy of nightmares and fears. Their motives felt twisted and malicious. Abel's heart raced, pounding loudly as if trying to escape his chest. "We have to go," he urged, adrenaline pumping through him like a jolt of electricity. "They're toying with us." The villagers turned to run, but the laughter morphed into haunting howls, echoing around them, sinking into their bones. The dark figures reached out, seeking to ensnare anyone who dared cross their path. "Are you ready to learn the truth?" the figure hissed, the question hanging in the air as shadows closed in. Their world tilted on its axis as each villager stumbled backward, the weight of decisions heavy on their shoulders. But nothing could prepare them for what awaited them in the depths of the forest. The truth of Cain, the fate of those lost, and the choices they must face. Could they escape with their lives and sanity intact? A choice loomed before them, shrouded in darkness. Would they dare to confront the answer? Abel's heart thundered in his ears, drowning out the maniacal cackles of the figures that flanked them. They grasped for any edges they could reach, their fingers tracing the air like spiders weaving a web. Lila's eyes darted, fear racing across her face, contorting her features into something ghostly. "Keep moving," she screamed, her voice cracking as panic seeped into her usually steady demeanor. The villagers surged backward, their feet scrambling over roots and damp earth. As they retreated, the darkness loomed closer, swallowing the last vestiges of light, the forest twisted around them, branches clawing like skeletal fingers. Each rustle sent shards of terror down Abel's spine. He could almost feel the breath of the shadows caressing the back of his neck, whispering secrets meant only for the damned. "What price?" Abel shouted, hoping to buy them a shred of time. "What do you want from us?" The figure that had spoken earlier stepped forward, its features glowing vividly like a wildfire. "Do you not know?" The sarcasm dripped from its words, as sweet as poison. "To find Cain, you must offer what you hold most dear. A piece of your soul. It's not an easy transaction." A heavy silence followed, punctuated by the villagers' ragged breaths. Abel's mind raced. The sacrifice of a soul. Was it but an illusion to ensnare their hearts further? Who could bear such a burden? "I refuse." Lila spat, stepping protectively in front of Abel. "We will not barter our lives for secrets." The figure's laughter morphed into a high pitch that echoed eerily, reverberating through the trees as shadows swirled with chaotic fervor. "Then your brother's fate is sealed. We will claim our due in time." In that moment, the shrieks returned, growing louder, drowning out the laughter. A figure stumbled from the depths of the forest, pale and battered. Abel's breath hitched in his throat. It was Cain. His brother was alive but barely recognizable. His clothes were tattered, and his face bore the marks of torment. "Abel!" Cain croaked, his voice raw, like the scraping of bark against stone. "Help me, don't let them take me." "Cain!" Abel rushed toward him, but Lila's grip on his arm halted him. "Wait! What are you doing?" The desperation in Abel's voice twisted with urgency. "Remember what they said," Lila warned, her eyes wide. "This isn't just about him. It's about us too." Cain's eyes lost focus. Fear glimmered in their depths as the figures around him danced in delight. "You don't understand. If you try to save me, you'll lose yourselves. You already lost yourself." Abel shot back, anyway. But now, the choices pressed heavier on his heart. The bond of brotherhood or the cost of survival? Lila's face flickered with indecision, mirroring Abel's turmoil. The laughter intensified, reverberating through the forest, now a cacophony of chaos and dread. Shadows surged forward, hungry for their decision. The figures began to circle them, their eyes gleaming in the dim light, watching with malicious anticipation. "Choose." The haunting voice echoed around them. "Will you barter your life for a chance at truth?" As the sinister pressure encroached, Abel locked eyes with Lila. A storm swirled against the silence of the night. A defining moment was upon them. The air thickened with barely contained dread. Would Abel honor the bond between brothers, or would he protect the fragile spark of hope for all? As shadows closed in, time suspended. What would they sacrifice to unveil the truth? The truth lay just out of reach, but at what cost? A choice had to be made, and darkness hungered for their answer. The ground trembled beneath them, the very earth alive with the malevolence that surrounded their dwindling hope. Abel's instincts screamed at him to run, to save them all, but the forest had them locked in a vice grip of despair. A sacrifice? What did that even mean? His thoughts spiraled, a whirlwind of panic and guilt. "Abel!" Cain cried again, desperation radiating from his brother's features, now smeared with dirt and anguish. "You have to believe me. They're lying. They want to distort the truth. Don't trust them. Don't listen." Lila urged, her voice snapping like a taut wire under pressure. "They're trying to turn this against us. But as Abel watched his brother's eyes, he saw a flicker of something familiar: fear, yes, but also love and a bond that had withstood years of life's trials. His heart ached with the weight of that bond. The pulse of the forest quickened, shadows swirling around them like a living cloak, drawing closer with each passing second. Suddenly, chaos erupted. The figures lunged, their ghostly forms stretching outwards as if drawn by an unseen force. Abel felt Lila's grip tighten on his arm, a tether that anchored him to reality as the world around them warped. "Go!" Abel yelled, pulling away from Lila, the instinct to protect his brother overpowering all rational thought. He charged forward, emotions colliding in his chest like waves crashing against a crumbling shore. "Stop!" The glowing figure barked, its laughter shrill, blending with the wind. "You cannot save him without losing everything you hold dear." "Then I'll lose it all." Abel shouted defiantly, his voice a battle cry against the encroaching darkness. He barreled through the thickening shadows, reaching for Cain, who staggered backward, gripping his arms in a defensive posture. Abel could see the confusion in his brother's eyes, a mix of hope and despair. "Stay back," Cain warned, trembling like a leaf in the wind. "They will take you too. You can't shut up. I won't leave you." Abel's breath came out in sharp bursts, each word laced with urgency. The surrounding figures hissed, their laughter a grotesque harmony echoing within the trees. As he lunged forward, shadows wrapped around Abel's legs, tangling him like vines. He sank to the ground, the earth clinging to him, as voices echoed, filling his mind with chilling promises of eternal suffering. "You will forever lose the thing you love most." "No!" Abel screamed, tearing at the miasma that threatened to swallow him. Lila rushed beside him, pushing away the shadows like a warrior fighting for her life. "You need to focus. Think of what we have. Fight for it." Abel's heart raced as he grasped for that thin thread of hope. His family, his dreams, the flicker of joy that once brought light to their lives. He mustered all the strength he could, willing the shadows to recede. The forest screamed in response, as if it were alive, angry at their defiance. And for the first time, Abel could see glimmers among the dark a pathway. It shimmered faintly, leading deeper into the woods, glowing with a promise of truth. "Look!" Lila pointed, her eyes narrowing against the darkness. "We can make it to that light." "Cain!" Abel shouted, desperation weaving into his voice. "Come with us. We can fight this together." But as Abel turned back to his brother, the truth hit him with a cold hammer. Cain was still ensnared, his eyes ablaze with conflicting emotions: fear, hatred, a desire to be saved, and yet something unnameable. "Go!" Cain howled, horror twisting his features. "You can't save me without paying a price." Abel hesitated, heart thrumming like a war drum. His brother's voice echoed like a ghost in his mind. What would it cost? The truth weighed heavily on the horizon, shrouded in darkness. Would he risk it all for the brother he thought he knew? "Abel!" Lila cried, pulling him towards the shimmer of light. "Now!" The world warped with energy, shadows stretching ominously, the figures' laughter swelling with triumph. A choice lurked just out of reach. Could they escape, or had they already lost? Abel dove toward the glow, confusion churning within him. Would this light reveal salvation, or would it illuminate a horror they could never prepare for? The forest trembled, waiting what lurked in the heart of that light would decide their fate. Would they emerge whole or fractured beyond repair? There were no guarantees as the darkness clung tighter than ever. Abel plunged into the glowing pathway, the warmth enveloping him like a soothing embrace. Lila followed closely, her breath hitching as they left the suffocating shadows behind. The silence within the light was deafening, a sharp contrast to the chaos they had just escaped. Abel felt a rush of hope, but the shadows whispered of danger still lurking at the edges of his consciousness. "Is this it?" Lila whispered, eyeing the radiance that swirled before them. "Have we finally found a way out?" "I don't know," Abel admitted, scanning their surroundings. The light was blinding, yet it beckoned with an intensity that filled him with dread and exhilaration. But we can't go back. We have to keep moving. They treaded carefully, the forest a distant memory. With every step forward, Abel felt the weight of Cain's choice draping over him, like a shroud of regret. What price had his brother paid? What sacrifice loomed behind them? Could he willingly step into a new reality when Cain remained bound to the darkness? Suddenly, the light flickered. Shadows began to creep back, curling around them like serpents hungry for their prey. Abel's heart raced, each beat thunderous in the silence. We have to hurry, he urged, panic bubbling in his chest. As if responding to his fear, the light brightened, expanding outward. It shimmered like a beacon, but with it came a sense of foreboding. Abel reached out, navigating through the warmth, but instead of clarity, he was met with visions, flashes of memories not his own. A little girl giggling as her father lifted her high into the air. A family gathered around a table, laughter spilling as candles flickered in the dark. But beneath those happy layers lurked shadows, voices of betrayal, promises broken, and an undeniable sorrow. Stop! Abel shouted, clutching his head as memories flooded him, thick and choking. Lila looked at him, wide-eyed, confusion etched on her face. We need to keep going, she urged, her grip tightening on his arm. Whatever this is, don't let it pull you in. Abel fought against the tide of emotion, wrestling with the reality that was not his. He could feel Cain's struggle, torn by a choice that anchored him in despair. The realization struck him like a lightning bolt. It was not just Cain at risk, it was the legacy they were tied to, the very foundations of their existence. The laughter of the dark figures echoed again, swirling around them. What's a family without sacrifice? You cannot escape your blood, they intoned, their voices a twisted serenade. Don't listen, Lila shouted, her voice a solid ground amidst the turmoil. Push through it, Abel. A surge of determination coursed through him. He grasped Lila's hand tighter and focused on the glowing pathway ahead. We have to break the cycle, he declared, his voice rising above the chaos. But as they pressed on, the light dimmed again, extinguishing like a candle snuffed out. Abel felt the ground tremble, a warning rumbling through the earth. No, he yelled, panic clawing at him. The shadows writhed, eager to reclaim their lost prey. Footsteps echoed nearby, closing in fast. The outline of figures emerged, their features obscured yet distinct, brimming with intent. Abel's heart sank. What do we do? Lila's eyes darted around. There are too many. The glow waned further, leaving them exposed in a circle of fleeting darkened figures. You've come far, but now, will you dare to confront the truth? One figure hissed, the voice dripping with malice. Abel felt the weight of his past collide with his present. Would he face this truth, or would it consume him and those he loved? Just as the shadows lunged, a blinding light erupted, splitting the darkness. A voice rang out from the unseen depths. Only the bravest may enter, but at what cost? What lay at that crossroad stretched before them, hope or despair? Abel's feet were still rooted in uncertainty, his heart pounding wildly. Would he step into that light of revelation, or would he turn back and save Cain from a fate he still didn't fully understand? As the light pulsed and the shadows recoiled, he knew one thing for certain: the time for choices was quickly running out. As the shadows closed in, Abel's breath quickened. The figures that surrounded them swirled like mist, their eyes glinting with an insatiable hunger. He could feel their presence pressing against him, dark and suffocating, every heartbeat echoing the rising tension in his chest. Look out! Lila shouted, yanking him to the side just in time. A shadow lunged at the space where he had stood, its grasping hands slicing through the air, reaching for something unseen. Abel's pulse raced, they were too close. The stakes had never felt higher. Where's that light? He gasped, scanning the encroaching darkness, searching for the safe glow they had first seen. But everything had warped, and the radiant pathway was shrinking, its edges gnawed by the encroaching gloom. We need it. Focus, Abel. Lila urged, her voice carrying a fierce resolve. Think about what we need to do. This has to mean something. Abel struggled to collect his thoughts. The voice that pierced the dark moments ago echoed in his mind. Only the bravest may enter. What did that even mean? Was bravery about charging ahead into the unknown, or was it owning the truth behind their family's secrets? As if sensing his hesitation, the swirling shadows shifted, forming grotesque shapes that played on his fears. An image gelled before him, a desperate Cain, wild-eyed, fists clenched as he turned away from Abel, the rift that had formed between them exploding into existence just moments before the chaos began. No! Abel shouted, his voice ringing out against the shadows. I'll save you, Cain. A fierce determination flared within him, rekindling the light's energy. It fueled him, warming his heart against the biting chill. Abel squeezed Lila's hand tightly, his resolve firm. Hold on, Lila. He shouted. They pushed through the gathering darkness, and for a moment, the shadows buckled before them. The path glimmered closer, thrumming with possibility, a bridge between despair and hope. Each step mingled courage with fervent prayers. But strength came at a price. One gigantic shadow shrieked, splitting the air with a sound that rattled bones. It lunged again, reaching voraciously for Abel, its devastating form towering behind them. Abel twisted back just in time, adrenaline surging. Now! He yelled, and they sprinted forward. As Abel and Lila reached the remnants of the light, it flared back to life, burning bright, illuminating the darkness surrounding them. The shadows screeched in protest, retreating from the intensity, flickering like dying flames. Keep going! Lila cried. Breathless, they charged into the glow, pushing through a veil made of memories and emotions. The vibrant panorama enveloped them, flashing with brilliant colors. Suddenly, the light split, revealing two distinct paths. With each path glittering under the glow, Abel's heart raced, and a pang of fear surged through him. Which turn led to his brother? Which choice bore the weight of salvation? Abel, which way? Lila urged, clutching onto him, her wide eyes searching his face for an answer. He hesitated. Each option whispered promises, reunion, truth, and the toll it would exact. The weight on his shoulders felt insurmountable. The shadows swarmed, now lurking ominously at the fringes of the light, coiling tighter. Choose. One hissed, its voice like serrated ice running down Abel's spine. What if Abel's voice trembled? What if one leads to Cain, but the other takes us further away? The figures surrounding them tightened their grip, closing in on the luminous sphere. Abel's mind reeled as he thought of his brother, lost in a valley of darkness. For every choice made, a consequence lay waiting in the shadows. Abel. Lila's hand squeezed tighter, anchoring him. We have to decide now. The truth clawed at him, begging to be heard. Sweeping out the cacophony of voices screaming in a twisted symphony of past trauma, he blinked hard, searching deep within himself. Courage bubbled anew. With a fierce glint in his eyes, he stepped forward, about to make the hardest choice of his life. But as he reached for the nearest path, the ground shook violently, and a chilling voice echoed through the void. Is your bond with Cain worth the cost of everything you hold dear? In that moment, Abel realized this wasn't just about facing darkness, it was about confronting his past, the heart of their family's legacy. And the truth lurking in the shadows, was he truly ready to embrace it? As the light flickered ominously, Abel braced himself for whatever awaited him on the other side. Would he break free, or would he be bound to the shadows forever? With a last resolute glance at Lila, he prepared to step into the uncharted depths, emotions raging like a storm before him. But what waited in that truth was more terrifying than he could have ever imagined. Abel took a deep breath. With Lila's grip anchoring him, he stepped into the glimmering path on the left, heart pounding like a war drum in his chest. The shadows hissed their disapproval, swirling violently at the edges of the light, but he pushed forward, refusing to let fear control him, the air crackled with energy, and the colors around them flickered and transformed like a kaleidoscope. Each step felt like a plunge into a fresh wave of memories, shards of laughter, cries of anguish, echoes of long-buried secrets rising from the depths. Abel could almost taste the bitterness of betrayal. Suddenly, the path opened into a vast chasm, and to his horror, Abel realized it wasn't just darkness beneath them, it was a pit filled with fathomless shadows writhing like angry serpents. He stumbled back, panic rising. What is this place? It's the heart of your fears, Abel. Lila shouted, her voice cutting through the din. You need to face them. As if sensing their resolve, a figure emerged from the dark abyss, a dark silhouette that stood tall and forbidding. Abel's breath hitched as recognition clawed at him. Cain, he whispered, voice trembling. The sight of his brother felt like a scorching brand, igniting a mix of relief and dread. Would he find salvation or the end of everything in this reunion? Abel. Cain's voice was cold steel, echoing in the chasm. You chose poorly. No, I didn't, Abel replied, fighting to keep his voice steady. I'm here to bring you back. The shadows around Cain began to swirl, forming arms that reached for Abel, desperate to drag him down. Each shadowy tendril whispered promises of power, acceptance, everything he longed for but was never offered. I understand now, Cain said, eyes narrowing. Your weakness lies in family bonds, a burden that will seal your fate. You're wrong, Cain, Abel shouted, heart racing. Family is a strength, not a curse. Abel barely had time to brace himself as the dark arms lunged toward him, icy fingers brushing his skin. The touch sent a shockwave of fear and confusion through him. He saw flashes of the past, every fight, every moment of rejection, and the searing pain of Cain's betrayal. Join me. Cain's voice surged, a mix of anguish and allure. Together, we can dominate the darkness. You don't need to let it control you. You can be free. Free. Abel scoffed, shaking his head hard. You think this is freedom? Holding on to power that only feeds nightmares? You don't understand. Pain twisted in Abel's chest, the weight of their shared history crashing down on him. This was his moment to truly confront not only Cain but the darkness that threaded through their family lines, the shadows of choices they never made. Face it. Lila shouted, pulling him closer, the warmth of her presence grounding him. You can't run from what you are. You need to confront both of your fears. With a surge of defiance, Abel forced himself forward, cutting through the shadows. The grip on him loosened, and the darkness shrieked in frustration, recoiling against his bravery. Cain's voice faltered, wavering between fury and fear. You don't know what you're doing. Maybe I don't. Abel yelled, fists clenched. But I won't let you drown me in your torment. His words pierced through the shadows, striking a chord deep within. The ground shook again, rage and desperation colliding in a violent storm around them as Abel moved closer to Cain, determined to break the cycle of despair that bound them. But then another shadow emerged behind Cain, darker, more ominous it loomed, massive and terrifying. You think you can save him? It growled, its voice like gravel. You'll pay for your defiance. Abel's heart stuttered in his chest as the chills of impending doom washed over him. The shadows were tightening around them, slithering closer, each driven by a desperate hunger. What had he awakened? Lila. He called, desperation clawing at his throat. We can't stop now. Just as he seemed to gain a foothold, an earth-shattering screech filled the air, drowning out his resolve. Unspeakable terror radiated from the approaching darkness. As it reached for them, each inch a layer of dread he hadn't anticipated. Could he truly reshape the narrative of brotherhood, or were they both destined to become lost within the depths of despair? The ground trembled beneath him, and in that split second, Abel instinctively pulled Lila close, knowing that whatever came next would test everything they had: their courage, their bond, and ultimately, their very existence. What fate lay ahead as the shadows lunged once more, seeking to engulf them? Both in the impending chaos. Would he confront the truth, or would it consume him? The shadows twisted around Abel like vipers, hungry for their prey. Each movement sent panic coursing through him, yet he stood firm, heart racing, drawing strength from Lila's fierce unwavering gaze. "We can't give in," he cried, urging his own resolve to hold strong. "Fight for what you know is right." The darkness roared in defiance, a chorus of malicious laughter echoing and bouncing off the chasm walls. Everything felt chaotic. For every heartbeat, a fresh wave of fear clutched at Abel, yet within that chaos, he found a flicker of clarity, a realization that he was not just grappling for truth but for the very soul of his family. "Cain!" he yelled, demanding his brother's attention amidst the swirling shadows. "We'll break this cycle. I refuse to let your pain drown us both." At that moment, Abel felt a shift, a tremor in the atmosphere, a desperate gasp from within the chaotic depths. Cain, his brother, glimpsed something in Abel's eyes, something raw and profound. "Abel," Cain whispered, pulling away from the looming shadows just enough for their eyes to meet. "What are you waiting for?" Abel urged, daring to take a step closer. "Join me. We can fight them together. We don't have to be alone." For a fleeting instant, the shadows shrank, recoiling from the light that glimmered from their connection. But the darkness lunged, attempting to sever that bond with a vicious grasp. "No!" Cain cried, instinctively reaching out. "You don't understand, the price is too high." Abel narrowed his gaze, struggling against the pull of shadows that threatened to swallow him whole. "The price is our silence. Do you want that more than me?" "Family bonds," Cain muttered, trembling with internal conflict as shadows slithered closer to his feet. "They drag us down." "I thought they were chains, Abel." "In truth, there are only salvation," Abel insisted, heart pounding with urgency. "Let me show you." Their shared past flickered in Abel's mind, a lantern in the dark, and he recalled the moments that had forged their bonds: laughter over shared meals, the comfort of a quiet embrace during storms, late-night talks filled with dreams and secrets. Those were not burdens, they were lifelines. "Fear is a prison," Lila interjected, stepping beside Abel. "Your life is the choice to confront that fear, not flee from it. You can have freedom, Cain." Just then, every shadow recoiled as if struck by a wave of resolve. The eldritch figure, dark and foreboding, snarled in anger, the sound like nails scraping against stone. "Foolish mortals! You cannot rewrite destiny." "Maybe not," Abel shouted back, fueled with adrenaline, "but we can write our own story. Together." In that instant, something remarkable unfolded. The brothers locked eyes, their fates intertwining in that moment of clarity. Whatever had driven them apart, it did not have to define them moving forward. The harmony of their hearts began to flourish, not just as brothers but as warriors against despair. With a roar, Abel took Lila's hand and lunged forward, plunging deeper into that swirling tumult, ready to embrace whatever churned within them. "Together!" he cried, feeling strength swell at the prospect of their combined will. The ground began to shake beneath them as shadows writhed in retaliation. Together they locked grips, expanding that errant light against the suffocating void, illuminating the faces of those lost to the darkness, each represented by echoing cries full of pain and sorrow, yet now with purpose. "Yes!" Cain shouted, a spark igniting within him, shifting, molding, and finally bursting through. Darkness had cast a heavy burden on him for far too long, and it shattered as he joined Abel and Lila, a powerful force against the encroaching shadows. The ethereal figures, once towering and vengeful, began to flicker and hiss, fading like mist in the sunlight. Together, they surged through the twisted shapes of fear, withstanding their fury, pushing back against the darkness that had sought to claim them. "Courage, brother!" Abel's voice rang clear, swelling with hope. "Defy the darkness. Stand with us." Lila squeezed his hand, a radiant smile breaking through the fear. "You're not alone anymore. None of us are." As their unified voices echoed against the looming abyss, the shadows buckled and scuttled away, retreating further into the crevices of the chasm. The endless howls dissipated like a storm passing, that lingering dread melting away with every declaration of their collective strength. And then silence. The three stood firmly amidst the remnants of shadows, their breaths mingling with the stillness. They had confronted darkness, faced the truth of their intertwined destinies. With each heartbeat, the air around them brightened, freeing itself from the grips of despair. They were no longer solitary beings, they were a family once more, forged in trials and bound tighter than before. "Now, what do we do?" Cain asked, eyes searching for answers. "What's next?" Abel grinned, relief flooding through him like a cleansing tide. "Next, we move forward. Wherever that takes us, we do it together." Lila nodded, squeezing both of their hands tightly. "Yeah. Nothing can hold us back now." As they stepped away from the darkness, light bloomed brightly ahead, illuminating a path that beckoned. The truth they had long sought was within reach now, not just about the choices that shaped Cain's fate but about the bond they shared, their unwavering love, an invincible force. Their story was merely beginning. Now, Abel, Cain, and Lila emerged into the warmth of the dawn, brighter than any morning that had come before. This is where their journey takes on new meaning, exploring life through the lens of forgiveness, love, and the truths they dared to face. Together, they write the sequel to their story, boldly facing the adventures and trials ahead. Hand in hand, heart to heart, they stepped into the new light, finally ready to forge ahead in a world ripe with hope. And you know what? You need to stay with us because we have so much more to share. Subscribe immediately to our channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories coming your way. Smash that like button now to let us know how much this journey meant to you, and to feed that algorithm, flood the comments section with your thoughts and theories about this epic conclusion. What did you think of Abel and Cain's reunion? And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this heart-pounding conclusion. Your support makes all the difference. Let us keep this amazing community growing together.